where are you falling these days in terms of overall set volume for chest, for biceps, for legs?
God, so I'm on the lower end for basically everything. And for the legs, I'm super low volume. If
Hmm.
I'm being 100%, and this is going to be the first podcast where I'll announce this, but I do one set per exercise when it comes to legs. And
Wow.
that does me just fine. So I'll do a Hatfield squat, one set with 500 pounds, then a good morning, one set with 405. Then I'll do one set of belt squats, again 405, one set of Nordic leg curls, actually maybe two on that. Then I'll do one set of pendulum sissy squats, one set of weighted sit-ups. Boom, we're done. So legs, I'm getting like three sets of quads per workout, and posterior chain, 3 sets, and that's that's every 5 days.
Yeah.
But I've also done once a week with that setup, and it's been fine. So I'm like
Mhm.
at the bottom of the barrel volume for legs.
Have you lost
For
any strength in your legs since cutting volume that low?
Nope, I've actually maintained most of it doing that. I squatted my normal loads last night, and I was just fine. So it's been enlightening to say the least.
Yeah,
I didn't
sure.
think it was possible, but I recovered better. And I think it's because of the absolute load. That is the X factor in all this shit. And the same thing for the upper body. Uh, I find that it's not my chest recovery, but my shoulder recovery is garbage.
Mm.
Uh, so I've taken my pressing volume down quite a bit. Uh, I'm like, I'll do 2 sets of, let's say, 2 sets of Larson press, 2 sets of dips, one set of chest crusher. And that's about the most that I can tolerate
Okay.
for my chest.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm going to be having Brian Borstein and Aaron Straker on next week. And Brian has really dramatically cut his volume at this point. Like he's doing a couple sets per body part per week. I forget the exact
Mhm.
split. And he's like, I'm honestly the strongest that I've been on a lot of these movements. And it's really fascinating because a lot of people who I have worked with as clients, I think part of the reason they've come to me is they know that I often start with low volume. But it doesn't mean I only do low volume. I'll just start people on low volume and we'll see how, how they progress and whatnot. But my general consensus has been I've done high volumes and I don't really notice much of a difference with it.
Mhm.
But if you had a gun to my head and you said, "Hey, I need you to get as big of arms as possible in the next year," I would bump the volume up. If you said I had to get the biggest one rep max bench, I would be doing a significant frequency at the very least. Obviously, there's a neurological component. So I actually plan to make a video at some point on like peaked versus general strength.
Sure.
And there's obviously a lot that could go into that, but it's just interesting, and I kind of just wonder if it's just something I notice again more of an adaptation, like I because I think it's mostly a neural thing. I don't think I'm gaining a lot of size, but I've noticed that hey, I'm calves. Okay, I bump up to like 15 sets per week or something like that, and I see like the slightest bump in strength, no change in size. Could just be that I'm getting used to these things. But
Mm.
overarching for hypertrophy, I haven't seen much of a difference, and I can't stress how many times I've heard you, Brian, myself, so many people where it's like, let me just try super low volume, and it's like, oh, it was fine.
Yeah. And keep in mind, it's the people who make these changes, it's typically later on in
Right.
their journey. So this isn't to say that I didn't do a lot of volume earlier on. I certainly did, especially in my calisthenics days. People have seen the crazy amount of sets that I did. Like I was known for having very high work capacity. Same thing with my
Mm,
full body workouts. Like I followed silver era guidelines, but at some point that kind of training just became unsustainable and not superior. And regarding like gun to your head, if you add more volume, are you going to make better gains? Would I personally pull that card? And my response nowadays would be no, because I think I would just end up with more joint pain. So I would just, because my recovery would be compromised, I wouldn't even bother trying it. And sure, maybe you can milk out those gains for a short term block. Like if someone wants to do the small off squat program,
yeah,
but you're going to be hurting for months after that. And the moment you stop training that way, you're going to lose the gains.
right.
So I view it as irrelevant because no one is going to train that way long term. And it's the same thing with these splits that have you in the gym constantly. That fatigue is adding up on a day-to-day basis, and you can only train that way for so long. Heck, I even tried doing this with a 5-day bro split, which your muscles are getting hit once a week. But I'll tell you, at some point, you start feeling that. You start feeling like garbage. Even though your muscles got a full week to recover, there's just that constant pounding on your body. So I think
So this
fatigue
was a high
management,
volume bro split.
not even, not even, bro. And it was still difficult to recover from because you're constantly in the gym. So I feel like recovery is not emphasized enough. And there's many layers to it. It's not just volume, it's also frequency. It's also how often you're going in the gym. I find that most guys, after like 4 days of being in the gym per week, it starts to be diminishing returns. And the volume, after about 6 to 8 sets on a workout, it's like it's starting to look junky. I don't think you could do that more than like twice a week and see like that much better gains. And that's personally where I would cut it off.
Yeah.
Like, if gun to my head, if I want to really maximize my gains, for one, I would be in a calorie surplus. I don't care what anybody says. I would even go more aggressive. I would do a 500 calorie surplus, 8 sets of muscle, and that's it. Done twice a week, every 72 hours. Boom. That's as optimal as it's going to get. But I wouldn't be able to train that way forever. And I certainly can't do it now.
Right. Well, I was gonna
Nowadays,
say
I'm
though, but
training,
that's yeah. So
yeah,
16 sets or a little more. If it's every
16
3 days.
sets. That's, to me, that's the upper end of the volume range.
Yeah.
It's not 20. I would not do 20.
Yeah.
And
No, I agree with you. I
and I
agree.
wouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If somebody said family's life depends on it, I'd say, all right, yeah, we're not doing a 1 to 200 calorie surplus, right? If it's like net muscle mass, yeah, probably 500 or something like that. I mean, obviously, if you're literally just looking at like maximum muscle mass, then you would just eat as much as possible because But if it wasn't like you have to get back down to the same body fat at the end, which we could talk about Jeff Nebert's experiment at some point too, but
Mhm.
but yeah, but like that's the
Sure.
thing. Like I think that 12 to 15 sets, because I don't do anything close to that right now. I mean, per week right
Sure.
now, legs, so hamstrings. Well, I just started doing myo reps recently, which I'm actually really enjoying. But like probably 6 to 8 for quads and hams, 6 to 8 for calves. Yeah, most of them are 6 to 8, other than like back. But yeah, I would pretty much never be going above 12 to 15. Um,
Mhm.
and even that, like this past January, I was doing my upper power days were a total of 24 work sets in the whole, and these are all straight sets. And
Mhm.
eventually, I was just like, bro, like this is taking me almost 2 hours, and it's just annoying. So I
Yeah.
cut everything down. So it was 3 straight sets for 8 exercises. I cut that down
That's
to
a
two
lot.
straight sets. It is a lot. I cut that down to 2 straight sets, literally zero negative impact in any regard at all. Other than the only impact was I
Yeah.
enjoyed the workout more.
But that's the
Um,
thing. So it's like,
yeah,
how much better is it? And if you take it down and you're still making good progress, why not gravitate towards that?
yeah,
Again, it's me with the legs. I didn't think I would make gains this good at 1 set per exercise. But the reason why I did it, well, one, I'm lazy. I don't like training my legs. It's annoying.
yeah.
So I'm like, let me try this minimum effective dose. And lo and behold, the gains are, I would say, at least 80% comparable. Is it better if I do 2 sets? Probably, but it's not a deal breaker.
Just to
So for that
clarify,
reason, I'm just gonna do 1 set. Forget, screw it.
when you say
So
the gains are 80% comparable, you mean you're still gaining, it's just a little slower? Not that you've gone to 80% of your size and strength before.
no, no, that's what I'm saying. Is just maybe a slightly slower progression on
Yeah,
certain
okay.
things, but
I just
it's
wanted to
very
clarify for people
comparable. I don't
listening
think
there.
most people would be able to tell or notice a difference. It's not like I'm getting the stimulus from that 1 set, so
Yeah.
that's why I'm defaulting to it.
Yeah, I
So
think at some point, I don't have a reason to not try this other than maybe there's just like a little like fear in the back of my mind or something. Also, to be fair, I do like training, and now that I have the home gym, like I sometimes have to
yeah, of
prevent
course.
myself from going down there because I'm like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. So I'll still keep doing the calisthenic stuff, but like there's a part of me that wants to see like, okay, literally, what if you just did one upper, one lower per week,
Mhm.
two work sets per body part, like would you even lose anything? And I've never gone that low across the board. I went very low on legs for a 6 month trial. You maybe heard me talk about this, but it wasn't a fair volume assessment. It's hard to know. One leg did just
Oh yeah.
isolation, and the other did isolation with leg press. And after the 6 months, there was a half an inch difference, which is very substantial. Was that because one had a lot less volume or because it was only doing isolation? I don't know the answer to that. Obviously, you can't know. Um,
Mm,
but I'm just, and even then, you could make an argument from a lifestyle standpoint. Who gives a shit if your thighs are half an inch smaller? Now, I'm not okay with that, but I'm just saying for 95% of people, if it like just to say that you can maintain on a lot less. But anyway, yeah, I mean, Brian,
yeah,
I'd be interested to talk to Brian about how low he's gone.
yeah. And you have natural asymmetries as well,
Yeah.
especially with things like the arms. Some guys, it is half an inch difference,
Yeah.
or at
Well,
least a
I
quarter
measured
inch.
before I did this, but yes, you're right.
Sure. Yeah. But like if your legs are already jacked, like I don't know, let's say they're 25, one of them is 25 inches, the other one's 24 and a half. No one's gonna be able to tell.
No, no.
So it's at the end of the day, it's just an arbitrary measurement in that sense.
Yeah.